Check 1, 2.
Go! Curious about real estate? Yes! Then you've come to the right place. Get the knowledge you need. Get over the fear and get started. This is the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show with your host, Michael Quarles.
Hello everybody, Michael Quarles with podcast 126. Today we have a scenario question. I'm starting to enjoy those, so send them all in. Send them to support@bsffacademy.com. One more time, support@bsffacademy.com. Here we go. I had an appointment to buy a house and got insecure about my numbers. We agreed to both think about it until the end of the week. Repair will cost $20,000 to $25,000. Payoff amount will be $69,985.69. Seller just wants to walk away with cash, not owner financing. This is the info I got from the 5 data sets. Bank of America thought it was 103, Chase is 100, Eppraisal not available, Zillow 99, Remax 108. So if I look at those real fast and I go 103, 199, I'm going to call that 100, so that's 303, and 108, so that's 411 divided by 4, so that would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 103. So let's say, for instance, that that's worth 103. Looking at the MLS, there are 3 comps need about the same level of repairs. One's for 63, one's for 52.5, one's for 56. Okay, so now that's telling me that the Bank of America, Chase, Eppraisal, Zillow, and Remax are doing an ARV or giving you an ARV value. And if you're comparing the comps and you've seen them and they are like type to your subject property and they're at 63, 52, and 56. Now, we'd much rather know your built, how many square feet, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how far away from the subject property. So it doesn't give me a lot of information if I just look at 63, 52, 56. Then other comps with repairs and remodels were 139, 120, 137, 105, and 148. Let's kick the 105 because there's something wrong with that. So if I go 139.9, 137.5, so that's 140 and 138. So that's 278 plus 148, so that's 378. 418, 426 divided by 3. So 426 divided by 3 would be whatever that number is. So you'd have 20 into it on a 69 purchase, so that'd be 89. You're going to be, your value, the low value, and again, the comps that are the ARV comps don't have any information, so it doesn't have any distance from the property, how big, how large it is, your bill, similar bedrooms, bathrooms. So I can't really say they're comps because I don't know. So it's a real hard scenario question to answer without all the information. It's. I feel like, and I don't know if anybody's ever seen a duck follow a cat, thinking the cat's its mom, and the duck's really confused then, right? In fact, I've seen a whole row of ducks follow a cat like the cat was mom and the ducks are just following it. Cat's confused because it doesn't know why these ducks are following it, and those ducks are absolutely confused because they're following a cat thinking it's a duck. Well, that's how I feel right now. I feel like I'm either a cat or a duck. I don't know because I don't have the numbers. When you send in questions, I really need to see if, in order to help, I need to see the property profile of the subject property. I need you to tell me what the seller will sell for, what you think it's worth, how you justified your value for repairs, because quite frankly, $25,000 is a lot of money in repairs. And then I need to look at the comps. I need to know, have you seen them? I need to know where they are to the subject property, how many square feet they are, bedrooms and bathrooms, the year built, those kinds of things, for both what you believe is the as-is comps and the ARV comps. And then we can actually put a scenario together and see if we're making an offer or not. But without that information, again, without a property profile on the property that we're hoping to buy without the comparable cells and the information about them, size, year built, number of bedrooms, those kinds of things, distance from the subject property. Have we seen the inside of the properties that we are thinking that are as-is values? And have we seen the inside of the houses that we are using for ARV to confirm for a fact that the subject property at 69 isn't an actual ARV? Until we do those the six-pack that we talk a lot about. There's 2 six-packs we do. One six-pack is we look at 3 properties around our subject property that have just sold, and we interview the buyer on what they received when they bought it. So how much they paid for it. Was there any concessions? What amenities were inside the house? Why did they buy the house in this neighborhood? Those kinds of things. And then we interview 3 houses that are in the market around our subject property to see what they're offering, what price tag, what kind of amenities they have, how does that property look in comparison to our subject property. And then the second six-pack, of course, is the six-pack around the neighbors of the prospect that we're buying from. The 2 neighbors on each side and the 3 neighbors across the street. And in that conversation's more why the seller's selling, if they know, and what about the neighborhood from a deterioration perspective, do they know and want to talk about? And we're looking for anything that we can use as from a negotiation perspective. But I can't put a deal together looking at just the black and white numbers. I mean, I'd hate to be wrong, and I'd hate to be so wrong and have you take what I'm saying as gospel and go buy a house and it just be, well, Mike said that. I'd be horrible. I'd feel really bad if it didn't come to good things happening at the end of the day. So if we want to do this scenario question again, let's get that information to me, and let's fall forward. Now, real fast, just without doing any research, if I think that I have on the MLS that there's a property for 63, 52, and 56, and I think that my subject property is the same, then my 69,985 purchase price is too much. It's clearly too much. But I don't know that yet because I haven't compared it to the 6 or 7 houses that I can compare it to. What, if it was worth the 105, there's that one comp under what you classified as with repairs or remodeling done at 105. If that was the comp, then the 69 is fine. If it didn't have any more, beautiful things in it or than your subject property. So if your subject property was in the same condition, it looked just similar, same size, similar size, same year built, similar year built within 5 years. So the rules on that is within 5 years of age, quarter mile away, 200 square feet up or down, like bedroom count and like bathroom count. So it's not a 2-in-1 compared to a 3-in-2. We would never do that. And then other things is we want to make sure the architecture is the same. So if like a flat top roof over a gable roof or something like that maybe has tile or 3-dimensional asphalt shingles or something like that. So you've got to look at architecture too to make sure that it's conforming to your comparable. But without some of the really the stuff on the properties, man, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot if we try to make a deal. Now let's get back to the first statement though, and because I think irrespective of all the other stuff we're talking about, irrespective of it, whether we know it or whether we don't know it, okay, let's get back to the first statement I read, and it was, I had an appointment to buy a house and I got insecure about my numbers. We both agreed to think about it until the end of the week. I have to say at the end of the week, shame on you. And it's only Tuesday. So by the end of the week, I'm going to say shame on you because you had the opportunity to get a contract and you had the opportunity to get that contract at least at $69,985 and 69 cents with a cash purchase. You had that ability. What is there to get nervous about or insecure about? Do you know we can get out of a contract much easier than we can get out of a contract we don't have. So if we had a contract, we can get out of it much easier than getting out of one we don't have. Because you don't have a contract. Some guerrilla investor, probably named Michael Quarles, he's going to go over there and he's going to wrap that thing up, put a contract down. He's going to do his due diligence. He's going to find out what he doesn't know, but he's going to have a contract. He can renegotiate something that you have. I can go back to the seller and say, hey, this is what I found out. We've overvalued your property. I found out that your property is worth exactly what I'm paying for it. Or your property it fits perfect. We're going to close as fast as possible. But what you can't do any of that if you don't have a contract. We're in the business of buying houses and putting them under contract. Yes, it doesn't feel good to have to cancel one. All right? But get it under contract. Every time you have the right to get it under contract, get it under contract. Unless you know you're never going to buy the house, why then get it under contract, right? That would be close to fraudulent. Immoral and unethical. But there's nothing unethical about putting something under contract and later determining what you didn't know while you were there getting it under contract. That's why we have due diligence periods, where we're going and finding out things, we're inspecting things, we're determining things. That's why we have those things in that time frame. Stop being insecure. We're real estate investors. My goodness, when I read that first thing, I didn't even want to read the rest of it, but I had to so I wouldn't rant about that the whole podcast. Go get it under contract. My goodness. Until tomorrow. Talk to you guys then.
Thanks for listening to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Get more info and stay in touch at michaelquarles.com.